what I'm going to do is try to share with you the work that I've been doing on microaggressions. And we can ask the question, what are microaggressions? Well, microaggressions are the everyday slights, put-downs, invalidations, and indignities directed at socially marginalized groups because of their marginalized status by well-intentioned individuals who are unaware that they are delivering these slights and invalidations that are directed towards them. As I've mentioned, almost any group can be the object of microaggressions if they are marginalized in terms of our society. There are three examples I'd like to use to introduce you to this issue of microaggressions. Years ago, and continuing even to today, I remember one time when I was asked to keynote an address in Washington, D.C., and I flew into Dulles Airport, got into a cab, and the cab driver began to engage me in a conversation. And this was some times back when the heavyweight championship fight between Mike Tyson and Holyfield. Do you remember that fight where he bit off a piece of Tyson's ear? Well, I'm a fight fan, so that in the cab we were really talking about it. And the cab driver turned to me and said, well, what is it that you do? And I said, well, I'm a psychologist. And he said that, well, what would motivate an individual to bite off a piece of a person's ear? And being psychologically minded, I said many reasons, in terms of, which is something my wife hates about me. She'll ask me, and I'll say, well, there could be a number of explanations for that. But we had this pleasant conversation, and I remember that when he dropped me off at the hotel, I got out of the cab, paid him, gave him a tip, and he turned to me and says that, you speak excellent English. And I said, thank you, I hope so, I was born here. Now, this is an example of something that I want you to keep in mind, because that very same evening, after I delivered the address, you know how people from the audience come up and want to talk to you about these issues. One white woman came up to me and said that was really an enlightening address, and she flattered and complimented me. And we started a conversation about some of the research and work she was doing. And she, therefore, after a while, began to ask me, well, Dr. Sue, where were you born? And I said, oh, I was born in Portland, Oregon. And she said, no, where were you born? And I was, Portland, Oregon? I was, was this, and then she said, no, what country were you born in? And I said, the United States. And she turned she got embarrassed, turned beet red, thanked me, and excused herself from the platform and left. Now, these are typical examples of what I now know and label as microaggressions, because on the surface, they seem to be flattering comments. On the part of the cab driver, he was flattering me. He was complimenting me for my English. On the second end, with a woman wanting to know where I was born, she was trying to make a personal connection and showing interest in me in a personal level. But the hidden communication, the meta-communication, is that you are a perpetual alien in your own country. And these are types of microaggressions that many Latinos, Latinas, and Asians experience in their day-to-day activities. And the hidden communication is that you are not a true American because you don't look like what Americans should look like. And this is in the unconscious a worldview of the individual that is delivering it. Microaggressions aren't necessarily verbal or simply nonverbal. For example, when President Barack Obama says that when a black man like me walks into an elevator, the white woman present clutches the purse more carefully, the meta-communication is that you are a criminal and likely up to no good in one way or another. They can be verbal, nonverbal, but they are also environmental. And this is where it is very powerful for us to understand the manifestation of microaggressions. I shared